Here we are, and it's time to quilt this big picture Nemo quilt. So I was pretty sure that this was gonna be that third and final quilt with that blue quilt back that I had used for 2 other quilts so far, but it's not going to be. And that's because this quilt is a little bit wider than the other ones have been. The other ones have been just under like 46, 48 inches. And I was able to fit 51 inches across, but this one is a little bit bigger. This one is at least 50-inch square. And so I had to figure out another backing. And because while I'm sewing this, it is still no by January, even though this is posting in February. Obviously I can't buy a quilt back. So I had to go out to my garage and see what I had in that stash. I did have one that was big, giant, wild, cartoony fish, but I decided there was so much fish on the front, I didn't need more crazy fish on the back. And so I also considered piecing a little bit of this Nemo print into the backing, but then I was like, I don't know, that's just a little extra bit of work to it, and so I'm not gonna do that. I'm not going to do the blue and make it work. But I did find this other print that I think is going to be a good contender. So I found this out there, and I think this is that right, nice colors in there. It'll fit, look like we've got Dory in there with the blue, and we've got these guys with the yellow. So I think that's going to be a fun backing. And I'm pretty sure the green's the binding. I don't remember now. It's out in another room somewhere. So either one of these I think is going to be a little crazy, but still good next to the backing. And when it was the blue, I was gonna do orange as my quilting, but I think adding orange to this might be a little much, so I'm gonna do my light gray that I've also been using to piece everything, because I'm determined to get that giant cone all used up by the end of the year as well, because my storage system doesn't really hold those big cones well. So I'm gonna use that gray as my top and my bobbin thread on this, and I think that's gonna look really nice. And I'm gonna go back and use one of my good tried and true favorite pantographs, Ebb and Flow, because it's gonna add that nice oceany wave look to this. So I'm gonna get this all pieced together because I'm gonna have plenty to go across, and then we're going to get quilting. So piece this first, I'll meet you back on my long arm. Everything's basted in, and I'm getting the pantograph set. Remember, it's going to be that ebb and flow. And I've made a thread change, so it's not going to be gray. I don't know if you can see it from here, but it's going to be marine blue. I figured this quilt's so colorful enough, why not add another color with the thread? And it actually matches the backing pretty well, this blue color. So we're going to get wild. Why not? So because I had to Frankenstein my batting together, well, I didn't have to, but I chose to. Things got real crooked, and I barely made it with my batting to the edge of the quilt after some little stretching and finagling. So we are just about at the end, and then it's time to take this thing off the frame. So that's how much scrap I'll have left over. So that's just going to get tossed out. And then we'll be on to a new collection of batting. Good news, everybody! I found Nemo. I really like how this turned out. I think the backing is a nice little change. I'm sure all of you were like, "Gah, the blue is finally done," right? Well, maybe. So that's gonna be a fun little contrast to the front, nice and colorful here. I still am feeling out how I like how the borders are done for this. So as far as the just sew it on and then cut it off, not my favorite thing, but in the end it did quilt up nicely. I didn't have too many issues. My issue was the fact that I did the Frankenstein batting and then had to like scooch it one way, and then I really needed to trim out my bottom. So as you saw, I squared up my quilt with my scissors, and then I squared it up again with the rotary cutter just to get everything all even all the way around. And I really like the fun green binding. It kind of just frames everything up, and I did top stitch it with the blue so it matches the stitching on the quilting and the stitching on the backing, so everything is tied in together. So this is gonna be a fun kids quilt. It's about 50 by 50, I think is what the book said. And I have a good chunk of this backing left over for another quilt to piece together. So we may have a really wild quilt back in our future for one of the upcoming quilts. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, it's time to do a quilt drop so you can get the final full reveal and some pictures of the quilt so you can see it in all its Nemo-y glory and get it all ready to go to its new home.